and Jessie from Plaid here with Michael's Community Classroom. So I know everybody's getting in and getting settled. So we just want to say hi and let you know that we are doing some really fun, hey Kathy, she's the one I always see on my screen. It just be the way it comes across. So I'm getting to know everybody. So Jessie's going to be teaching how to do Shibori style dyeing with our Fabric Creations paint. So lots of good info. If you've never done this, it is amazing products. We'll talk a lot about that. All these products are available on michaels.com, or you can pick them up in store, do curbside, get delivery. So all these goodie craft supplies are there. So I know that the product list is in the event. If you are crafting along, great. If not, watch this and get inspired. And you can watch this video and all our other videos on michaels.com after the fact. So if you want to go back and take another peek, or really craft along and watch it with you if you're just kind of getting inspired today. And we're also going to be doing a giveaway. So one, we love to have questions and to hear comments while Jessie or we are crafting. So we love to be able to answer you. So let us know, chat away at us, and I'll try to answer them, either relay them to Jessie or we'll chat back to you. And if you comment during this live, at the end of the live, we're going to do a random drawing for $50 worth of Plaid product. So we will announce the winner at the end of this live. So that's really fun and exciting for everybody, because we love to get product in everybody's hands. So I hope everybody, we got about 100 some people getting in and getting settled. So Jessie is all decked out, beautiful in her Shibori today. This is really fun. So thank you again, Michaels, for having us. Like we say, we could not be happier to partner with you. And thank you everybody for taking time out of your day and crafting with us. So we can start, I think Jessie can get started, and we are here to hang out with everybody for about the next hour and craft.
Very cool. So like Kira said, today we're going to be learning how to do Shibori. And actually Shibori, if you guys aren't familiar, it's a Japanese style of folding fabric. So traditionally when people do Shibori, they use white cotton fabric, and they use natural indigo dye, which is a really long, expensive, messy process. And it is beautiful, don't get me wrong. It is a beautiful, beautiful art, but we're gonna do it a little bit different today. We're gonna make it a little simpler and a little bit less mess and get a very similar finished product. So we're really excited about it. We all here at Plaid learned about Shibori a couple years ago, and we were like, you know what? We know we can do this with our product, and we were able to figure it out, and it's really fun and super simple. So today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how we're going to be doing Shibori with Fabric Creations. So for supplies, like I said, we're using Fabric Creations, which is our fabric paint here at Plaid. And the great thing about Fabric Creations, it is super soft. So when you're finished dyeing your project with it, it is so soft. It's just as soft as when it started. It doesn't get crunchy or hard like sometimes acrylic paints can make fabric. And also it's machine washable. So I've washed this dress probably a dozen times since I made it, and it's never faded. The ink has never come out. So you definitely want to have Fabric Creations for doing this. And we're using navy today just so we can make it look more like the natural indigo. So you can use any colors for this, but like I said, we're going to be doing blue today just so it's kind of more like traditional Shibori. So also what you need is some fabric items. So I just have a clean white t-shirt here, just a cotton t-shirt from Michaels. But you can also use scraps of fabric. So we've got pillowcases, and we cut up a shower curtain, and we've got all kinds of just white cotton fabric. It doesn't need to be cotton for this. It just needs to be soft white fabric, because normally if you guys are familiar with dyeing, it always needs to be white cotton fabric so it can absorb the dye. But for this, since it's fabric paint, it actually sits on top of the fibers, so it doesn't need to be cotton. You just do want it to be pretty soft. And then we're also going to be dyeing this really fun tote from Michaels. So this is a plain white tote bag that we bought at Michaels, and we're going to be dyeing this today as well. All right, so aside from your paint and your fabric, also today we're going to be using these squirt bottles, which we bought these in the Michaels stores in the cake decorating section. So these you can get these like in the Wilton brand, something similar, and it's generally for icing. So we use these all the time for crafting when we're doing stuff like this. I think Kira's even used them in her paint pouring videos, but these are just icing bottles, and they're a little bit soft, and you can pour anything in them. So we always have a ton of these. So you'll want one of these. We also have rubber bands, so just any rubber bands are fine. we've got these awesome Art Minds coasters from Michaels. So this is just a 4-pack. You only need 2 of them. And if you don't have these coasters, you just need like wooden squares that are similar to this. So you can either cut your own, kind of like this one is, if you've got a shop, if you kind of are into that sort of thing, or you can just get this awesome pack because this works perfectly for these techniques. And this again is from Michaels. And then also I'm going to be using some rubber gloves just because it gets a little bit messy. So it totally will wash off your hands. It's non-toxic. I've got baby wipes here too to wipe off any messes, but just to kind of keep the paint from getting all over my hands, I do have rubber gloves. And like I said, I've got paper towels and baby wipes, and we're going to be mixing our paint with water. So I've got a bottle of water here, but water from your sink is fine. You just want to have water nearby.
So Jessie, we have a question. Do the fabrics need to be washed first, or can you just use them once you have, purchased them?
It's better to wash the fabrics first. Whenever you're using dye especially, but since we're using fabric paint today, whenever you're using fabric paint, it's always best to wash your fabrics first because sometimes fabrics come with like a sizing or something in them, and that's just that potentially will resist the paint. So it's just always safer. You don't always need to, especially for these t-shirts, they're so soft, but I just say always go ahead and wash them first.
Yeah.
If you have fabrics here today, they're not washed,
yeah, it's totally fine.
You should be fine. Like these t-shirts we did not wash today. We probably should have. So if you're planning on keeping it a long time, you want to. But if you're at home right now and you're ready to craft with us and they're not washed, don't stress about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
everybody's loving your outfit.
Thank you so much. This is just a cotton dress that I bought online. You can't even see it's a dress though. It's just a cotton dress. It's got pockets, and I ordered it, and I just did this awesome Fabric Creations Shibori technique on it. And I've been wearing this for like, I think 2 years now, and you can see how it's still so pigmented. It hasn't faded at all. That's why I love this so much. So, are we ready to get folding, you think, Kira?
Yeah, we are using Fabric Creations today. So this is a super, super soft fabric ink. So it's different. It's not crunchy or hard. And again, like just feel that, like put your hand on the t-shirt. This is where Jessie, but like it is so soft even before you wash it.
This is like a microfiber pillowcase, and you can just see like it's so soft. It's not crunchy at all. It's just as soft as when we bought it.
Yep. And we are using Fabric Creations Navy blue.
Yeah, we're using navy blue because like we said, traditionally with traditional Shibori, it's usually natural indigo dye. So we just wanted to kind of make our faux Shibori, and so that's why we're using blue today, to make it look more like the real deal.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we could probably get started.
Awesome. Okay. So first, I'm going to start with a plain piece of fabric first, just to kind of show you the traditional folding technique. So what I've got here is just a pillowcase. So we talked about it earlier. I think a lot of people are having trouble getting their hands on fabric right now because everybody's making masks. So they're finding it hard to find fabric online in the stores, especially like white cotton might be tricky to find right now just because everybody was trying to buy it. So if you don't have that, we bought pillowcases, and we bought a really inexpensive shower curtain that we cut up, and it's just all white fabric. So you can use a bed sheet, like you can get a super cheap bed sheet from like the bargain store, and just cut that up and use that fabric to make it into pillows or make it into, you can see I have some home decor items that I'm going to tell you about a little bit later, but you can use any sort of fabric for that. So that's why we're going to be using this pillowcase. Actually, I think I'm going to switch. I'm going to use one of these scraps that we cut from a shower curtain. Okay, so this is, again, it's the same fabric. It's just, oh, this is actually a placemat. So it's just a white placemat that we've got. Okay, so this is how we're going to do the first fold. So I'm going to lay my fabric out. Can you guys see that? Any size fabric this will work for, but mine's a little bit small, which is okay. So I'm going to fold it up once on the bottom. Can you guys see that? And it's just maybe 4 inches. It should be, about the size of your coaster because we're going to use that later on. I'm going to fold it up, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to fold it back. See that? And then I'm going to flip it over again, and I'm going to fold it back. So this is sort of an accordion fold. You don't want to just keep folding it up into a roll. You want to make sure you have that accordion sort of shape. So here, I'm going to do it one more time for you guys. So I have my fabric laid out, and you could do it this way too. You could do it long way if you wanted to. It'll work for a pillowcase. You don't have to cut your pillowcase apart. You just keep it, in the 2 sides like it is. I'm going to fold it up just a couple of inches, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to fold it. You just want to keep the fold pretty even, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to flip it over again. So does that make
Just
sense?
like
to
a
you guys?
fan.
Yeah, just like a fan, exactly, like an accordion fan, just like that. So once you've got that done, and again, if you have a bigger sheet or if you're using like a large t-shirt, you just keep doing it. And when you get to the sleeves, you just tuck them in, okay? So this is gonna create like a traditional sort of like checkered design for our shibori. So that's what we're doing right now. So I'm gonna turn mine this way. You see how I have it vertical now? And I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna fold it, I'm gonna flip it over, I'm gonna fold it, and I'm gonna flip it over. And so if you have a much larger piece of fabric, it might just be more folds, but you're just gonna keep doing that same thing until you end up with this neat little square of fabric. Does that make sense for you guys? Should I do it one more time, you think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do it one more time, just in
One more
case
time.
people are coming in.
Yep.
So again, we've just got our plain white fabric. This is just a placemat that we bought. It's just a white cotton placemat. So I'm gonna fold it once, flip it over, fold it again, just an accordion fold, flip it over, fold it again, flip it over, and then I'm gonna turn it vertically. I'm gonna fold it once, flip it over and fold it, and then flip it over and fold it again. So we just have this nice, neat little square of fabric.
And someone asked, does it matter if you fold it horizontal or vertical? So you want to go right.
Yeah, whichever way is more natural, whichever way feels easier for you to start, it's totally fine. As long as, you know, you fold it long ways and then long ways again. It doesn't matter which way you start.
You want to get your square. That's like your end game, is to get that square.
Exactly. You want to make sure your folds are the same width on both sides. Like, so we folded it and it was probably about 3 inches. I'm just totally eyeballing it. And we switched around, kept folding it. It was a square that time. We didn't make it like longer or shorter, if that makes sense. So you end up with like a pretty decent square. See that? Okay. So here is where the coasters come into play. If any of you guys are wondering, well, what do we need wooden coasters for shibori? This is actually part of the dyeing process. We're not going to make coasters. We're just going to use this. So what you're going to do, it's going to be like a little sandwich. You're going to put your coaster down. You're going to place your fabric on top of it. And you may have a bigger bundle of fabric, and that's totally okay. You'll want to keep it there in place with your hands so it doesn't pop open. You're going to put your fabric on top, and then you're going to put your shibori on top. So we have a nice little fabric sandwich right here. You see that? It looks like a s'more. So we're going to sandwich our fabric like this, and then we are going to keep it together with rubber bands. So that's where the rubber bands come into play. And I'm going to put two or three on each side because I want to make sure that it stays pretty tight. So if you've got really big rubber bands, oops, I just snapped that one. If you've got really big rubber bands, you might want to do it twice around because you want it to be like pretty secure. You don't want to be able to squish it down too much, especially if you started with more fabric and yours is maybe a little bit wider than mine is. You want it to be as tight as you can get it. You don't want to have any give to it, if that makes sense. I started with a smaller piece of fabric so you guys could see it better, but it totally works for larger fabric too. So you can see I'm putting it in both directions just to make sure that my fabric is really tight in there. So you see I have 2 on this side and then 2 on this side, just to make sure there's no give. It's as tight as I can get it. That's how we want to have that one.
Like a tic-tac-toe board.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that is the first fold. So the reason we're putting rubber bands on it is so that it doesn't come apart because we're going to dye it this way. So normally when you're doing natural indigo dye, you would take this and you put a giant glove on and you would have your big vat of natural indigo and you would dip it in there and hold it in there for like 20 minutes and you'd massage it and you don't want it to come apart because the parts where the wood is on it is where it's not going to get dyed. That's acting as a mask. So you can see here on like some of our shibori pieces where there's white, that's because we had something there acting as like a mask so to keep the dye from penetrating that part of the fabric. And that's how we get different patterns. So the only parts of this we're going to put paint on are here, 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 and here. So that's what the wood is doing. It's going to be blocking this part and everything in the middle. And we're going to end up with a grid for this. It's going to be really cool. It's kind of like magic. So hopefully everybody got that one. These are just wood coasters again. We just put rubber bands on them and our fabric is folded inside. And we are going to put this aside for now.
And those wood coasters about 4 by 4, I believe, 4 and a half,
so,
4 and a half.
I just stuck this down here. I think they're 4 by 4. Yep. So if you've got a shop at home and like you're into like cutting wood, if you're a furniture maker or something like that, You can totally just use wood scraps and just make sure they're each the same size. Just cut 2 wood squares.
Yeah, and that's really important tip or technique. Depending on the size of your fabric, you want to make sure that that wood coaster is larger than your fabric. So if you go, so everybody's asking about your dress, you're going to have to do an entire class on this dress. You should make them and start selling them as a side hustle.
Okay.
But you want to make sure your fold, that wood that you use is larger than your final folded piece. That's really important.
That's a great point, Kira. So I have a little something to show you here. These are ones that I've used in the past that I always keep on hand because they dry and you can reuse these over and over and over again. So these you can see are much smaller. So if you were going to fold something into smaller areas, like if you're going to fold it, you know, only 2-inch accordions, then you'd want a smaller square for that. And that's what these are for. Thanks for saying that. That's a great point. So you can see that we tried to fold ours to be about the width of these squares. So that's why we were doing sort of like I said, 3 or 4-inch accordions. So that would fit really perfectly into this right here. Because any fabric that's going to be coming out is all going to be blue, which isn't a bad thing, but it's going to make your squares much tinier on your pattern when you eventually open it up for the big reveal at the end.
Yep. Yeah, and someone asked what, you know, if they could use the coasters after. So like Jessie said, you end up with little blue squares, and you could even stencil like a white pattern on that. That would be really fun. Or
a monogram on them. That'd be really cute.
Yeah, or you could pour on them. We're really good at that.
Totally. Yes. Save everything to pour paint on.
Or you could just reuse them to do more dyeing. But yeah, absolutely, you can use them. The Fabrications doesn't ruin the wood or warp it or do anything. It just is going to stain the wood blue.
Yep, exactly. So like I said, if you're going to be doing a lot of these, you want to hang on to them, but you can totally seal these in Mod Podge and make them coasters. That'd be beautiful. All right. So I'm going to show you another quick fold using the wooden coasters. So I'm going to find a good size of fabric here. This one looks pretty good. So this looks like it's just some white linen. And again, this is just a scrap. I think that maybe this used to be a shower curtain or something. So any sort of just white, soft fabric is fine. And I'm going to lay it out this way. And we're going to be doing the same sort of accordion fold, but then for the second part of that, where we turn it vertically, we're going to switch it up a little. So we're going to start, again, we want it to be about the size, thanks for pointing that out, of our coaster. So let's say, you know, 3 or 4 inches like the other. And that looks pretty good to me. So we're going to keep it that way. And I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to fold it back. And you just want it as neat as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're going to flip it over and fold it back this way. And don't forget, you don't want to just keep folding it. You don't want it to be like a roll. You want it to be an accordion, like a fan. And then flip it over that way. Make sure it's pretty even. And flip it over. And then I have a little bit on the end. I'm going to flip over. So that's nice and flat. So now we have the first side folded. I'm going to turn it vertically. So this time, instead of doing the same thing, going up, folding those square folds, we're going to do a triangle fold. So you can see here at the bottom, I'll make sure you guys can see it. I'm going to fold it up diagonally. Do you guys see how I did that there? Instead of folding it this way like we did last time, we're folding it diagonally. So we want this bottom side to meet this edge. Either way, it can go that way or that way, but we want it to be diagonal. So you see that there? We've got a little triangle at the bottom, and then I'm going to hold on to that. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same this way. So this way it's going to go down. You can see how that works. And then I'm going to flip it over and we're going to go diagonal again. You can see. And then flip it over and we're going to go down this time. We want to keep that triangle shape. So we're folding it on its corner each time. And then flip it over. It's going to be diagonal. And we're going to flip it over. It's going to go down. Again, we're just folding it on the hinge, sort of. And then we're going to flip it over again, and it's going to be diagonal again. At the end, you might need to kind of work with your hands. It's getting sort of thick. And then I have a little bit of extra fabric here. I'm just going to fold that up. It's not going to mess up our pattern at all. So you guys kind of see that? It looks like just a little triangle, sort of maybe like if you were to fold like a napkin this way or something. Just a little triangle shape.
Somebody's asking if you can use more than one color in this technique.
Totally. For this technique, you can use any color of fabric creations. You can use any color of fabric, really, as long as it's a soft fabric. Like if you wanted to do like yellow fabric and then dye it green or something to make more of a tie-dye look. We are actually going to be keeping an eye out on the Michaels website because we're going to be doing a tie-dye live stream using Fabric Creations. But the reason we're using blue today is just so it looks more like the traditional Shibori. But use any colors. You know, your imagination, just let it run wild.
Yes. And hi, Denise.
Okay, so I'm going to try this one more time just to make sure that people saw that second part. I'm just going to start from the second part. So again, we folded it just like we did the other one. We did the accordion back and forth, right? Just like we did the first fold, back and forth. We did the whole fabric, and then we turned it this way. Can you guys see it on the white? Is that clear, Kira?
Yeah, I can see it okay.
Okay.
It's almost like an old school football fold, right? Like
kind of, yeah. Like when you were young and you used to fold like footballs out of notebook paper. Yes, exactly. It's the same. Okay, so now we've got our nice long one that we accordion folded. We're going to fold it diagonally. Actually, I'm going to do it from the other side. We're going to fold it diagonally, and then we're going to flip it over. We're going to fold on that hinge again, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to fold on the hinge again, and then I'm going to flip it over and fold on the hinge again, flip and fold, flip and fold, flip and fold, and then we got some extra fabric here, which is fine. We're just going to fold that over. So hopefully you guys can see that. So just be a nice little neat square, or I'm sorry, not square, triangle of fabric. So it's pretty neat around the edges. It's not perfect, but that's okay. So now you want to hold on to this. You don't want it to let it pop open because it's a little thicker than our other one, so it doesn't really want to hold itself in place, which is again what we're going to use these wood tiles for. So I'm going to lay this on my wood. I'm just going to go right up to the edge. I'm going to lay this on my wood coasters, and I'm going to sandwich it again, just like we did the other one. So you may be thinking, oh, like, do I need triangle coasters for this? And you don't. The square will work just the same way for this one because we can still get to that fabric on the inside there, so it's not going to get in our way. So this way we can still dye all the way around it. The wood square doesn't matter. But you do want to make sure you have it nice and snug using rubber bands. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a few on either side. I might do 3 this time since it kind of wants to fold in on me like that since we don't have any fabric there. So just want to make sure it's nice and snug and tight. So one there. Oops.
So we have a couple questions. So we are going to dye. Jessie is going to actually get to dyeing. She just wanted to show a couple different folding techniques, but she's going to actually walk you through exactly how to dye this and show you the end result of the fabric. So stay tuned for that. That's the most exciting part.
Yep.
And then somebody has a question, examples of the different folds. So I don't know, Jessie, if you have there, you could kind of show, like if you do a triangle, this is what this looks like.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna put you on the spot there.
Yeah, let me look around. No, I'm just kidding. So this one is a t-shirt that we folded, and this is going to be the first one that we did. So you can see it's sort of a grid pattern, and depending on the ratio of water to paint, which I'm going to show you in a second, don't worry, you didn't miss that, it's going to be thinner or thicker, and so you're going to get a softer or more harsh pattern depending on how much water you put in your paint. So this one's a little bit softer. You can see it has sort of soft edges, but this is what's going to look like for the first grid one we did. And then I'll show you, this is a pillowcase we did, and this one was on microfiber. So this one is even softer, but this is going to be what it looks like when we do the triangle. So can you see that there's triangles in the pattern there? I'm trying to get a good angle for you.
It almost looks purple, the triangles, the way the dye took. And the fabric, it almost looks like there's some lavender, which I really love. So this is the triangle, and this is more tie-dye to me, and it's very soft.
Like you see, I know that's hard. Here, I'm going to put it on the overhead to show you guys better. But you see here how there's triangle there, triangle there. That's how it does this. And again, this one is microfiber, which I hadn't used that yet in doing this technique. So I kind of like the way it turned out. And I think maybe that's why it turned purple, or maybe that's why it's a much softer pattern. I think maybe that's just how the microfiber took the paint. But this is one of my favorite ones that I did. So hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea. You can definitely make your lines, I'm trying to see if I have any other ones around me, a little bit crisper than this. And again, in just a minute, I'll show you how to do that.
Yeah, actually one of the planters behind you or in the embroidery hoops, they're darker. So
yeah, so you can see here, this one's a little bit darker. But again, I'm gonna show you guys that in just a couple of minutes. Okay, So we're still putting rubber bands. We've got this little triangle one that we folded. And again, I'm going to put a few more rubber bands on this one just because I really want this one to be nice and snug. I don't want it to, you know, be flopping too much. So if you've got, like I said, bigger rubber bands, you might need to do a double loop, but I think this is okay. So I've got 6 rubber bands total, 3 on this side and 3 on this side, just holding these together. So now we're going to get into the dyeing part. So this is really exciting. And again, just to remind you guys, you can do these 2 techniques with anything. You can do it with the tote bag, you can do it with the t-shirt, you can do any of these techniques on any sort of white fabric. You just fold it the same way. You know, the sleeves, you just sort of fold them in. The straps, you just sort of leave them and you can dye them at the end. So there you go.
So now the way you position the rubber bands, will that affect the dye, the pattern?
Oh yeah, no, it won't affect the dye. So in traditional shibori, especially if you have like really tight rubber bands or string, it might, because again, you're dunking it into a bucket. And so you might get striped the rubber bands are. But the way we're going to do ours, you won't get it because you'll be able to get beneath the rubber bands and it won't affect the pattern at all, especially with these squirt bottles that we're about to use. So for the dyeing portion, you want to make sure that you have some sort of dish like this, whether it's just like a kitchen bowl that you can clean out or something like a bowl you use for crafting or something. Or we always use these non-stick disposable aluminum pans. Kira uses them for paint pouring. We use them for fabric dyeing. We use these things for everything around here. So we always have tons. So I have this. I just got this from the grocery store. Again, it's just like a casserole dish from the store. So I'm going to do my dyeing in here to keep it a little bit less messy. And I'm also going to go ahead. I'm going to put my gloves on now, just because we're about to start the paint part. And these are just regular like kitchen gloves. You can use any sort of rubber gloves for this, and it is non-toxic and it is washable. It'll totally wash off your hands, but it does get kind of messy. So you might be washing your hands for a little while. It'll definitely get into your nail beds and things like that, but that's okay. It'll wash out. Again, so I'm just putting on these kitchen gloves to keep my hands a little bit less messy. And then, like I said, we are going to be using these squirt bottles, which you can get in the in the cake decorating aisle of Michael's. And this is meant for icing. So any kind of squirt bottle you have like this at home, if you have something similar, it'll totally work. You just need to be able to mix paint and water into a bottle and then squirt it out. So whatever you have at home is fine. So I'm gonna move this for just a second while I mix my paint. I'm going to grab one of my bottles of Fabric Creations. And again, we're using navy just so it looks more like traditional shibori. And I'm going to open up my bottle, and I'm going to put, for mine, I'm going to put the whole bottle of paint in here. So if you're just doing a little bit of dyeing, say you're just going to do one, you probably only need to put, you know, a little bit of paint, maybe half the bottle, and then mix water in with it. But I always keep these. You can see I keep them around because they stay airtight in these bottles for when I'm doing my faux shibori. So for now, I'm going to put the whole bottle of paint in. You can just pour it right into the top.
This paint, you can, again, we've talked about this before, that as long as you're keeping your paint airtight, you may need to water it down if it thickens up, but it's going to last for a while. So it's not going to go bad immediately as long as your container is airtight, even once you mix it.
Definitely. Yeah,
and we're just using regular old tap water with it also.
Yep, and so that's, I have this water here. So again, this is just tap water. I just got it from the sink right over here. I just didn't want to have to walk off the camera for you guys. So you can go to your sink and you want to put, so hopefully you can see about how much paint is in there. You want to put double that with water. So however much paint is, you want double that when you pour the water in. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to pour my water in there. I'm going to pay attention to how much is in there so I know I have the right ratio. You can use a funnel or something if it's easier for you. So that looks about right to me. I put a little bit extra. And this is where I was talking about, you can get sort of different kinds of patterns with your fabric when you're done. So if you do a lot of water, you're going to get a lighter pattern. So this one used a lot of water, so the blue is much lighter. You can see that there. Whereas this one, we used hardly any water at all. It was a lot of paint. So we have a darker, more crisp pattern. So you can see it's sort of like dark and crisp lines, or very light and soft lines. It's sort of your preference, but you can get a lot of variation depending on how much water you actually put into your bottle with the paint. And again, I'm going to show you guys at the end. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these projects in case you're wondering. We'll get to that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cap back on and make sure the tip is covered, and you want to shake it really well.
And Jessie, what's the ratio of the Fabric Creations to water?
I am doing a 1-to-1 ratio, but you really can't mess it up. As long as you have, I would say at least a 1-to-1 ratio, you'll be fine. A little bit more is not going to hurt it. You're just going to get a softer blue. And you want to make sure it's shaken really well. So I can kind of stop it and see that there's paint on the bottom, so I want to make sure it's all completely combined.
And you don't need to worry about air bubbles or anything like that. You can just shake it up.
Yep, because we're like sort of dyeing our fabric with the fabric ink, so we don't have to worry about air bubbles whatsoever. We want it really good and shaken. Yep. Okay. All right, so now that I've done that, I have my paint here. I'm going to grab my dish again, and again, this is just a disposable aluminum pan. And I'm going to grab my 2 folds that I just did here. I've got my my regular accordion and then my triangle accordion folds. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your bottle and you're going to start squirting it around the edges of the fabric. And you can see it's kind of dark. You see how mine like looks super dark? I'm actually going to put a little bit more water in it because I've decided that it's feeling like a little too thick, like maybe it's too painty, if that makes sense. And I want it to be a little bit thinner. And I want it to travel through the fabric a little bit more than that. So I'm just adding a teeny bit more water. You can kind of experiment when you do this and kind of see as you go how much paint to water you need. Because again, you can't mess it up, so.
Do you have something that you could maybe squirt it on and show, like a paper, do you have a paper towel or something, maybe like show the consistency? I don't know if that would help, like what, until you get a feel for it, sometimes it's easier to kind of see.
I know this doesn't help you guys, but I do it by sound. So I know the exact swish that I'm looking for. I know you guys can't hear the swish, so I can definitely show you guys on a paper towel or something.
Very technical, you guys. Always technical here.
I know. Very scientific, these.
Yes.
Just when you get the right swish. Okay, so here I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like. It's pretty watery. You see that? It's coming out pretty well. And it's not like thick and syrupy like it would be if it was super, like it was coming out for me thick and syrupy, and that's too much paint. I want it to be a little watery. So you can see it's sort of like dripping out and it's squirting out really easily, but I still have some control. It's not just pouring out of the bottle. So does that help you guys, hopefully?
Yeah, I think that was a good visual. Quick question. Someone asked, could you use a spray bottle instead of the squirt bottle?
You know, I have not used a spray bottle before for this. I don't see why not. I'm not sure if the paint would be like a little bit thick. You might need to water it down even a little bit more for spray bottles because I'd be afraid that it would get stuck in the nozzle. But yeah. What were you going to say, Kira?
Oh, no, sorry to interrupt. Well, I was saying you just have more control in that squirt bottle with the nozzle to kind of get in there. If you spray, you may just get a lot of overspray and not have as much control.
Right. Although that being said, if you have one of those spray bottles that has like the spray or the stream setting might work. Like if you want to craft with us right now and you don't have the squirt bottle, that actually might be a really good idea. Like the stream setting, so it's not misting everywhere, but you just have that stream. That actually is a good idea. I bet that would work. But again, I haven't tried it, so don't take my word for it.
And then somebody asked, this is a really great question. Do you need to wet your fabric or t-shirt before?
Okay, so that's another thing that's sort of optional. So the person who's asking probably dyes fabric a lot. Because if you're using just like regular tie-dye dye or something like that, you always want to wet your fabric and maybe even treat it with alum before you dye it. So again, we're not using dye today, we're using fabric ink that is diluted, so you don't need to wet your fabric beforehand.
Which I love that. It's so much easier once, you know, take that stuff out, keep it easy.
So much of it. And we've done it both ways. We love to experiment here and we love to find the best way of doing things. So again, it's sort of like what I said, if you add more water to your paint, you're gonna get a softer look. It's the same thing for if you treat your fabric with water first. So you could technically take this over to the sink and wet it in the folds and then squirt it, and your fabric ink is going to travel into the fabric more, excuse me, and be much softer and sort of like fade into the white a little bit. So it'll probably look more like this one actually. So like really soft sort of pattern. But this one I did not treat with fabric. So you can see it's got a lot more white. I mean, did not treat with water. Does that make sense? But yeah, I usually don't because I like more of a crisp, clean pattern. But that's just me. If you do treat it with water, you want to make sure you get as much of that water out as possible. You want to wring all of the water out until nothing is dripping out of it. Okay, so now I have just the right consistency of water to paint in my bottle. And I've got my folds here that we started putting paint on, but we're gonna go ahead and finish it. So again, I'm just squirting paint onto the sides. And here's a little pro tip. Whenever I was doing this before, I was wearing an apron, of course, that went up to about here, and I kept hitting the nozzle of my bottle onto the rubber bands, and it would flick all over me. So that's just a little pro tip that you do, you know, as I say, not as I do. I learned that lesson the hard way. But I took that dress home that I splattered paint all over, and I shibori'd it. So now I have a blue dress instead of a pink dress, which is fine. So you just want to be careful. But that's the great thing about these metal pans and having the squirt bottle, is that you get a lot of control over what you're doing. So you can see I'm just going around each side, and I'm just squirting the paint onto it and kind of letting the paint soak in. And you can even get your finger in there and sort of rub it in if you feel like you feel like it's not deep enough.
Yeah, sorry, I keep talking over you today. We're usually so in sync.
That's okay.
We're tired, it's Friday. Somebody had a question if you can use multiple colors, like you don't leave the one color dry, let the one color dry. You can go right back in with another color and go right on top or next to it.
Yeah, so if you're doing more of like a tie-dye look and you want to like do like multicolored, definitely. So if you're gonna do them all wet, I'd make sure they're kind of like similar colors. Like I wouldn't go in with like a green and a pink, because they will blend in the corners where it's wet, and they might get a little bit muddy and brown. But if you're gonna do like yellow and orange or like pink and purple or something, that would be beautiful. You can totally do multiple colors on this. That's just sort of my advice. And I want to make sure, so at this point I want to make sure I can't see any white in there. I can kind of like see between the folds and that kind of thing. You don't want to get too deep, because you do want there to be some white in the middle. That's the whole point of masking it. But I just want to make sure that there's not like a ton of white in there. Nothing like, I want to make sure I get like all of the edges that are, you know, facing the outside nice and blue.
Yep. And somebody had a question if they want to watch this after. So this video will be on michaels.com under the community classrooms page. So you can go ahead and watch this when you want to go back and take a look at it. So if you're kind of just tuning in now and you want to go back and actually maybe die along with Jessie later, that's a great way to watch the video. And I think somebody from Michaels just posted it, or one of our viewers, but this video will be available on michaels.com.
Yeah. Okay, so you can see we just went around the first side, and we put paint all over the edges. We made sure that we can kind of see that there's no more white fabric left on the edges if I miss a spot there. And again, you don't want to like get super deep and like be like really squirting fabric into the middle, because that's going to sort of defeat the purpose of these blocks. You'll get rid of your pattern. The whole thing will be blue, and that's not what we want. We just want to go around the edges of our little sandwich here and make sure we don't see any white. And so now we're going to do the same thing for the second one. This is a little more surface area. So I take a little more paint. We just want to go around and make sure that they're all dyed blue.
Yeah, and so someone said, how do you know when to stop when you have enough? Like you said, you just want a good even coat around your edges. You don't want it to completely like penetrate the fabric, because it'll be all blue. So you just want to make sure that you've got a good even coat on there. You don't want it to be saturated and like dripping wet.
Exactly. And like, you know, like we've kind of talked about, like your paint consistency, if it's more watery, it'll seep in a little bit deeper. If you've soaked your fabric in water beforehand, it'll seep in a little bit deeper. So you just want to make sure you can't see any white on the edges. That's really the most important part, just like Kira said.
Yep. And so the triangle, you do the same way. You just get in there in between, like right under your rubber bands.
Yeah, can you guys see that? I'm just getting in there, and again, don't flick the tip of it on the rubber bands, because it will splatter all over your face. I just did it a second ago. Kira was talking. Not sure if anyone caught that, but I clearly don't learn my lesson. I just like start concentrating, and I'm like, oh. And again, you can sort of get your finger in there, whether you have a glove on or not. Again, it's non-toxic, so it'll be fine. And sort of push it in and make sure that there's no white showing. Sort of massage that fabric ink into the fabric. Make sure that there's no white showing. See how I'm just sort of rubbing the paint in. And I love fabric creations. If you guys haven't used this before and you do a lot of fabric crafts, like you need to make sure you try it, because obviously it works so well for this sort of like faux fabric dyeing process. But even for painting, like we are always painting on fabric here, and this is the best fabric paint to use, because it is so soft. So It paints really beautifully. It's got really awesome colors. You can do blending if you're doing like decorative painting or something, but also it's not crunchy like regular acrylic would be, or even multi-surface paint stays kind of crunchy and hard. It's not soft. So especially if it's like wearable fabric, like jackets and t-shirts, you want to make sure you use this because it works so, so well. Okay, so I feel like I've gotten pretty much all of the surface there. I can't really see any white on the edges. I think that's good. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab a baby wipe and just wipe off the excess paint from my gloves, but I'm gonna keep my gloves on for now.
Yeah. You do not need to wash it in vinegar or any other chemical or additive after. So that's what's so great about this product.
Yeah, and the way that you set fabric creations is by heat. So when we're done, we're gonna let this totally air dry, and then you can just take a dry iron to it to heat set it, or you can just toss it in the dryer. Make sure it's dry first, otherwise you get paint in your dryer, which again, I had to learn that lesson the hard way. I've had to get in my dryer with the baby wipe. So just let it air dry and then toss it in the dryer. Now heat set it, and then you can wash it and none of your colors will fade.
Someone asked about using fabric softener. I have totally washed and dried after the fact, like just wore a shirt and dried it, and it's been totally fine. So once you heat set it that first time, you can wash it as normal.
Yep, absolutely. And that's great because a lot of times we always say it's that plaid. If it's handmade, you should hand wash it. That's sort of just our go-to. Like if you're hand painting something or that kind of thing, even in the dishwasher, if it's handmade, you should hand wash it. But this is an exception for that. This, you do not need to hand wash it. You can just toss it in the dryer with the rest of, or the wash with the rest of your laundry, and you're good to go.
Nobody has time for that.
Exactly. Okay, so here's our first one, our tiny little s'more sandwich that we made. And this is the one we just did the regular square accordion. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the big reveal. I'm just gonna carefully take my rubber bands off. A lot of times if I have like a ton of rubber bands and they're really tight and tiny, I'll just snip them off if I'm not worried about wasting rubber bands, but these aren't too tight, so I feel like I can just easily get them off. And two, I should say this, if you're really used to fabric dyeing, a lot of times you want to let it sit overnight so it can just really absorb all the dyes and the dyes can really penetrate the fibers. With this, you don't have to, because again, this is fabric ink, so it's just sitting on the surface of the fibers, so it's on there. It's attached. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to get deeper or less deep. It is already on there. So here, we'll open this up. Oh, I can tell this is going to be a dark one. So I'm going to grab the corners, and you see how we made that. Oh, cool. You see how we made the grid there, and that's we used with our, we did that with our wood coasters. Slippery. You see that grid? Look how pretty that is. Dylan's oohing and ahhing here in the studio with me.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, so it's a nice crisp line. Again, if we had wet this first, it would be a little more blurred and a little bit softer pattern. But this to me looks just like traditional Shibori. So if that's something that you're really interested in, but don't really have the space or the supplies or the funding to do that, this is a really inexpensive, fast, easy cleanup way to get that exact same beautiful Shibori look. So I love it. I think that turned out so good.
And really no mess, like other than your rubber gloves. And I mean, I would protect your surface, of course. Like it's all in your pan and done.
Mm-hmm. So I love the way this turned out. So I'm going to put this on. I've got a drying rack right here. I'm going to put it on. You can just, if you have like a tarp at home where you just want to like lay, a lot of times I'll lay out a trash bag and I'll just lay my fabrics on that just to protect my floor while they're drying. That's a great way to do it too. But I wouldn't hang it to dry. I would try my best to lay it flat just because sometimes the dye still wants to continue running or the paint does. So I would recommend laying it flat to dry if you can.
And someone asked if you let it dry and then remove the rubber bands, does it affect the results? And it won't.
No, it won't, because again, it's really soft. So if you're at home and you didn't have fabric paint, you're just using acrylic, the acrylic might gather in some places and get hard, just like acrylic does on your palette, and be crunchy. But this one stays really soft, so it won't affect it at all. I could open this up tomorrow and it'd be the same result. So I'm just carefully taking these off because this is another time where I can end up flicking paint in my face. And again, this is the one we did with the triangle pattern, so let's see how that turned out. Ooh. Okay, so you see how that changed the pattern? We did the exact same, yeah, that looks way better than my first one did. We did the exact same wood coasters, but we have a triangle pattern here instead of that grid pattern. So hopefully you guys have really similar results.
Yeah, And this is a good way everybody can see the different techniques someone was asking in the beginning.
Totally.
So this is the triangle. Okay,
Yeah,
now this is my new favorite.
Yes, me too. These are like really traditional Shibori folds. So whenever you've like, if you're on Pinterest and you sort of look up Shibori, that is going to be probably what you see. It's a pattern similar to those. The grid pattern and the triangle sort of grid pattern, that's like very like Shibori-esque. But there's lots of other ways that you can fold fabric to that just in like really traditional ancient Shibori folds. And we're going to be doing another live stream next week, Kira and I, to show you some more of those folds. And we're also going to be showing you how to craft with the fabric when you're done. So you're probably like, well, what am I going to do with these scraps of fabric? So I can show you some of these projects here. So this one is a different sort of fold that we did that I just got this planter. This is just a faux plant. And I took Mod Podge. So I just took, you can take gloss or matte, whichever formula you like best. I usually use matte for fabric just so I like it to look like it's, you know, it doesn't have a top coat on it, like it's just regular fabric, but it will protect it. And I just I made a little pattern and I cut my fabric out and I just Mod Podge it. You can see there's a little seam there. You can see on the bottom. I just Mod Podge it right to this cute little planter. So I've got this beautiful Shibori home decor piece. And it was so simple. And I was using scraps of fabric that I had in my craft studio and just a regular Mod Podge. And I know you have Mod Podge because everybody does. So there's that one. Here's another one that's the same thing. This is a really cool technique. And I'm going to show you guys next week how to do this sort of zigzag zebra technique. So make sure you tune in for that. So again, this is another faux plant. It looks real, but that's why I'm tipping it over in case you're confused about that. And I just did the exact same thing. I made a pattern and cut it out of just this plain cotton fabric. And I think I even hot glued the edges. I just pulled a hot glue string off. And it's a really beautiful home decor element. And then one of my co-content creators, Dylan, made these beautiful embroidery hoops this year. And so what he did is he took the fabric and he just put them in these embroidery hoops. You can see how beautiful those are. And then he painted some colors on the edge. And this is such a beautiful like gallery wall sort of piece. So you can just, I actually have something really similar to this from when I took my original Shibori workshop where we all learned this, hanging on my wall at home. So I have all of these just plain old embroidery hoops from Michaels. And you just put the fabric in, you see that there, and you can glue the edges down or not, it doesn't matter. And that's such a beautiful wall piece for home decor. I just love this one so much. And then another idea to use your fabric for is, this is one that I used one of these Michaels totes like I showed you in the beginning. And we can dye one of these next week too, just to show you guys how to fold something that's not just plain fabric. This is a plain Michaels canvas tote. We use these all the time. We love to craft on these. And I Shibori'd it. So you can see I did sort of like more of a tie-dye. You can see my paint was probably a little bit more watered down because you can see I got this light blue around it and I didn't do a ton of masking. But then I took one of the pillowcases or scraps of fabric that I had and I cut out a heart. And then I adhered it using Mod Podge fabric. So you can see I just cut it out and I put it on there and it's not, there's no seam, I didn't sew it, it's completely no sew, and it's not going to fray on the edges because that's what the fabric Mod Podge keeps it from doing. I just cut out my heart, I applied Mod Podge to the area, and I just laid it out and let it dry. And I just think it's the cutest little bag. I can put my books in it, I can carry it around as a purse, it'd be great for like a beach bag or something if you're doing that. So just fabric to fabric, I always use Mod Podge fabric.
And somebody was just asking about the different, you know, the examples you did were very stark and really that deep navy. And it just depends how much water you add to your fabric creations, the shifts that you get. So you've got a really good variety going there on the screen, which I love.
I have a lot. And like I said, we are always experimenting here in the content studio. We are trying everything on everything all the time. So in hindsight, you know, I might have wet this first. I'm really glad someone asked that question. I think maybe I did pre-wet this, and that's why this one, you know, I wouldn't want to say bleed. It didn't, you know, bleed, but it just got a lot softer and it traveled through the fabric a lot more. Because this is the same one. I'll put these on the overhead. This is the same exact fold as this. So you can see it looks so different. But I think that I probably pre-treated this one with water, and I think I had much more watered down paint. And this is linen and this is microfiber. So there's just such a variation of looks and techniques you can get, because you guys watched me do it last week. It was the same exact thing. So yeah.
No, it is absolutely beautiful. let's see. Someone asked, should you adjust the water ratio for thicker fabric like the canvas bag?
No, it shouldn't have any effect on it. So when you're doing the canvas bag, again, we can talk about this next week too, but I'll definitely, tell you now. You are going to be folding it like this, so you can't obviously separate the canvas from itself because it's two-sided. So one side is going to be a little bit lighter or have a little bit less pattern than the other side, if that makes sense, because that's going to be the side that gets folded underneath, if that makes sense. So one side will be much bolder, but it shouldn't be a different ratio. It should just be the same. It's not terribly thick, and it's not even much thicker than that first one I did, that placemat. That was pretty thick too. So it should be the same ratio for that.
The water ratio is really more about the color than the fabric.
Yes, exactly. As long as it's, you want to have, again, at least a 1-to-1 ratio. Otherwise, it might not be thin enough to sort of dye the fabric. It's just going to sit on top, and it's just going to be more like straight paint, if that makes sense. But as long as it's pretty sloshy when you're shaking it around in there, you can hear that it's pretty watery, you should be safe.
Awesome. And Michael's, Debbie just posted to everybody that the next class is available if you want to sign up. So Jesse's going to be doing more Shibori techniques and then also talk about the home decor pieces because I love the planters and everything. So more of this.
I'll show you exactly how I did this planter. I'm going to show you exactly how I made the pattern for a planter and how I Mod Podged it on. So if you're
interested, and I think we should totally do a dress or a t-shirt, Jesse, like
totally.
Wearing, like we have to do that.
And we're gonna make this dress next week. How about that?
Deal. Done.
Awesome.
Okay. You guys, a couple more questions. You can take the rubber bands off and unfold it immediately. You do not let it dry. You just let it air dry. And then Jesse, you want to tell them about how to heat set it again?
Definitely. So it says it on the bottle. So if you've got that, you have a reminder always. But as soon as it's air dry, so you want to make sure that it's not wet at all, it's nice and dry. You take a dry iron to it, and that can heat set it, or you can just toss it by itself into your dryer at home. And make sure, some people have those steam dryers. You don't want any moisture. You want it to be a nice dry dryer. So make sure it's totally air dried, and you can toss it into your dryer, and that will heat set it for you to just toss it into the wash.
So yeah. I think that's it. Everybody's excited for next week. So we just said we're going to do a dress. So we got to go get a white dress.
Now we have to do it.
So we're going to do some t-shirts. Michael's has awesome t-shirts. And we will be doing some more Shibori. Jessie will be back on Monday night with another Let's Paint class. So she's doing a really beautiful floral for summer. Thank you guys.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Michaels. Hope everybody had a great time. I got to pick a winner, which this is my least favorite part. Putting it on.
We love doing these classes, though. Thank you guys so much for joining in. We've got another tie-dye one coming up for you guys who are asking me about multicolored. We're going to be doing with all different colors of fabric creations and doing different folds that are more traditional for tie-dye. So like the swirls and the twists and the bullseye and things like that. So make sure you keep an eye out on Michael's website for that one. We're excited for it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So once I announce your name, what you want to do is you want to go to our Plaid Crafts Facebook page and direct message us, and then we will make sure that you get your product. So you want to go to Plaid Crafts Facebook to let us know that you won watching the Michael's class.
Yeah.
Yay.
Drum roll.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. All right. AJ. Is there more?
AJ.
AJ.
Woo!
So AJ, go to Plaid Crafts Facebook page and direct message us, and we'll get your product out to you. Thank you everybody for joining. I wish I could send everybody product, but thank you guys so much. Thank you, Michaels. I hope everybody was inspired, and hopefully we'll see everybody next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great weekend.